I notice a lot of trends that I see when I look on Facebook lately. I remember reading a long time ago that they wanted some of the videos to be more diverse and they wanted to get more black people on Facebook. Excuse me, not Facebook, on YouTube. And so I look at the YouTube channels all the time, and the only black people I seem to find, most of the time anyway, the younger ones, seem to be these horrible conservative people who sound like Trump or white men when you listen to their philosophy and when you listen to the way they think and what they're pushing forward for the community. I swear, I don't know where they find the group of people that they find, but they find them and they also seem to have hundreds of thousands of followers and maybe even millions. And I'm beginning to wonder who these followers are. Because if you get one that says something that is important to the black community or communities of color, they have very few followers, and most of the time, the algorithms don't even lead you to such people. I think this is very sad. The main reason I think it is sad is because we have this myth of having a diverse group now getting thoughts and opinions from various people, and we seem to be getting the same old people regenerated over and over again. Whenever people talk about diversity, they dust off some black person they've been hiding in a closet and blow the dust off of them and put them in front of the camera as if they represent the black community when they really don't. Many are just trying to find a way out of poverty and they have decided to say whatever they needed to say, or they've internalized the negative views of themselves, their families, and their communities. One example of this was a video I was watching that was saying black culture is the problem. What is black culture? Most of them cannot even explain what black culture is, let alone it being the problem. And it is very false when you think about it. Because what is black culture? Can you tell me that people in Oakland, California behave the same way as black people from New York City? Or that a New Yorker has the same culture as a person from Mississippi or Kenya or anywhere around the world? This is all artificial. There is no problem with black culture. And I think that this belief that a problem comes from black culture is just a way for some of those who hate their own people, who want to call favorites with the dominant society. It's just a way for them to get in on the funds and raising money by stomping on and kicking and beating their own people. This is not uncommon. During the slave days, we had some black people who were free, and some were even said to own enslaved people. And then we had the ones who took jobs as overseers, beating their own brothers and sisters or hunting them down in order to take care of themselves and their families and pretending like there was a problem with the others so that they could hold their heads up, not be disgraced because they were traitors and lowlives, cowards. They couldn't accept it. We had those who worked in the house who put down those who worked in the field, trying to create a separation between them and the others so that they would be on the good side if need be. This has always happened, and now we see it more clearly when we watch YouTube videos and when we watch people who call themselves black conservatives. I don't think you can be black and conservative at the same time. And I think you have to give up being black when you become conservative. Let me explain to you what I mean by black. back in the early 60s, people who are called black now were called Negroes, or they were called colored. There was a revolutionary group of people who were pushing for freedom and justice, not only for the black community, but for everybody. And they came out with the word black, being black and proud, as opposed to white people. The color black in many indigenous cultures stood for that which was beautiful and empowering, the origin of everything, the creative energy from which all things sprang. It was something very good, demonized by the white culture, the European culture, and the church in order to explain why people of a darker hue could be oppressed, beat down, and destroyed. So black was a rebellion against that. It stood for a group of people who stood up for justice and love and peace and contentment, those who struggled without becoming angry and bitter, but more importantly, those who had a clear view of how the world worked and a desire to lift up all boats. When one loses that worldview and one has no desire to lift up all boats, when one begins to beat down on the people who are struggling the most and to carry out old racist stereotypes about what all black people do, one is no longer black. One is a Negro or an overseer. One had become the problem. And that is where we are today. And so people get on the YouTube and they probably have invisible sponsors who are donating to them or finding ways to get the algorithms to move them to the forefront. And people say that they represent the black community. Well, they don't. And they never will. Because one cannot represent a community that one hates. And so we here, with very few followers, continue to make videos over and over in order to allow for a diverse voice and to speak the voice of real black people, to speak as a real black man instead of one who has sold out just for the money, one who should be living in a cabin. And that, my friends, is why we are here over and over again. We're doing various things, meditation. We're trying to do comedy, which isn't really that funny. Various talks on spirituality, social justice, various things in order to help those who watch our channel expand their minds and their understanding of the way the world works. And I hope that you will subscribe, hit the bell, leave some comments, and especially pass on this link. It's time, I think, for those who tell the truth to be monetized instead of those who just rattle off these far-right, narrow-minded, and bigoted ideas. Because those people have given up the truth, or they have internalized that European belief system so much that they themselves have come to hate their own people and to blame their own people for their failure instead of very long centuries of oppression, depression, and sabotage that have led most black communities into a place of disaster. How can we solve the problems in black communities and in ghettos? I can tell you how to do it tomorrow. All we need is to have some billionaires build a factory in the middle of the ghettos and pay the people a living wage on condition that they begin to pass these tests, showing that they are not taking drugs or using drugs, just like a lot of jobs require, and supplying some addiction counseling if they are. The main thing, though, aside from the test, is to pay them enough to live off of. Not little wages like $7.25 an hour, not even $15 an hour, which one can barely live off of now. But I'm talking about paying them a real living wage, at least $25 an hour to start. Giving them educational incentives so they can move up the ladder and maybe even start other companies in various parts of the country. Give people real opportunities to work, real jobs. And believe me, they will rise to the task by cleaning up their neighborhood and changing their lifestyles and becoming contributing members of this society, making this country better than it has ever been. That's not what the conservative black people will tell you. In fact, they usually say nothing. They only blame black people for their pain and suffering with no type of antidote for it that is real, because most of the pain and suffering does not come from any flaw or anything on the inside. It comes from external pressures from the outside. Perhaps if we get rid of the external pressures from the outside, we'll be able to get rid of the internal pressure. The internal pressure and the internalized oppression. That is all that this black person has to say. Very good to be with you. And the one thing that I will never do in order to get more likes is to be called Tom. Thank you.